Good evening and welcome to the national news broadcast on ChannelEye. We are ready to bring you the top stories from home and around the world. I'm Natalia Viravardhana.
A very good evening to you. I am Dishan Virakone and we start off by taking a look at your headlines for tonight.
The President emphasizes the need for all countries to work together to face climate change. Another consignment of 2 million Sinopharm vaccine doses arrives in the country. Workers expected to migrate for employment purposes to receive the Pfizer vaccine. China decides not to further the approval for World Health Organization to investigate their laboratories. Wife of parliamentarian Risha Badruddin questioned over Ishalini's death. Tax revenue worth 215 million rupees earned from the telecasting of foreign teledramas and films. The 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games are set to begin tomorrow.
And on the main news story, a newly accredited ambassador and High Commissioner to Sri Lanka presented their credentials to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the President's house in Colombo this morning. Mr. Michael Edward Appleton has been appointed as the new New Zealand High Commissioner to Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Excellency.
Mr. Andres Marcelo Garrido has been appointed as the new ambassador of the Republic of Cuba to Sri Lanka.
His Excellency, the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic.
The New Zealand High Commission based in India has been coordinating Sri Lankan affairs until today. New High Commissioner Michael Edward Appleton said he was pleased to be the first High Commissioner to the newly established New Zealand High Commission in Sri Lanka, further expanding diplomatic relations between the two countries. President Rajapaksa commended Cuba for its support to Sri Lanka at the United Nations General Assembly. The two new envoys assured the President that they would commit themselves to further develop their long-standing relations between Sri Lanka and their countries in new fields. The President briefed the new envoys on the action taken as a government since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and the progress of the vaccination drive. The President explained the need for all countries to work together to face climate changes and the plans that have been taken for this purpose as a country under the formal plan by setting up a task force. The President also pointed out the move towards the use of organic fertilizers and the steps taken to fulfill a higher percentage of the country's energy needs from renewable energy sources by 2030. President Rajapaksa pointed out to the envoys that the massive development projects launched in the north and east at the end of the humanitarian operation could be witnessed and understood by visiting those areas. Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, Secretary to the President P.B. Jayasundara, Foreign Secretary Admiral Jayant Kolambage and Director General of the President's Media Division Sudeva Hettiarachchi were also present.
In the meantime, another consignment of 2 million Sinopharm vaccine doses arrived in the country today. So far, a total of 8,040,200 vaccine doses have been administered under the COVID-19 immunization program. The consignment of 2 million Sinopharm vaccine doses was brought into the country in UL 869 and UL 865 flights belonging to Sri Lankan Airlines. Subsequently, 1 million vaccine doses from the consignment has been transported to the central vaccine storage situated at Seram Road in Colombo. Accordingly, a total of 9.1 million Sinopharm vaccine doses have been received by Sri Lanka, including the consignment received today. Subsequently, 400,000 vaccine doses from the consignment were sent to Kurunegala district. Galle district is expected to receive 275,000 vaccine doses, and Mathura, Badulla and Ratnapura districts are expected to receive 200,000 doses. Hambantota district received 125,000 vaccines, and steps have been taken to provide 100,000 vaccine doses. 42,814 have been given the first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine yesterday under the COVID-19 immunization program. The second dose of the same vaccine has been given to 5,165. 16,252 have been given the Pfizer vaccine yesterday. 111,465 have been given the Moderna vaccine yesterday. In the last 7 days, 1,566,600 doses of vaccines have been delivered to the people. The number of vaccines given yesterday amounted to 175,696. Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva has said that a special program has been initiated to provide COVID-19 vaccines for those who are expecting to travel abroad for visa-approved employment purposes with a vaccine recognized by those countries. He made these remarks during a meeting held with health authorities and Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi. The relevant migrant workers are expected to leave for countries including Dubai, Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Seychelles, Singapore, South Korea, Maldives, Malaysia, Cyprus and Israel for employment purposes. The health authorities agreed to take necessary measures to provide Pfizer vaccines, which is recognized by these countries, for those who are expecting to leave the country, since most of the workers who have been given the opportunity for foreign employments are below the age of 30 years. 1,128 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country today. Meanwhile, 997 patients left the hospitals today following recovery. Director General of Health Services said that 42 COVID-19 deaths were reported yesterday. The United States have donated 500,000 rapid antigen test kits to Sri Lanka. The US Agency for International Development handed over the 300 million rupees worth test kits to the Ministry of Health.
Member of the Media Committee of Government Medical Officers Association, Dr. Vasan Ranasingham, emphasized on the importance of the COVID-19 vaccination program to control the increasing corona infections and fatalities amidst the present COVID-19 outbreak in the country. He further clarified on the hesitancy to receive COVID-19 vaccines over the public confusion on various types of vaccines available in the country.
Vaccination is mandatory to prevent the deaths and also spread of the disease. So the people are confused with the type of vaccine they have to get in order to get the immunity to beat the COVID-19 effectively. So it is the concerns, not only the people and also the authorities which are concerned to combat the COVID-19 at present. So as Sri Lankans, we are lucky enough to get the vaccine. At least so far we have vaccinated 5.8 million populations with the first dose. There are several countries in the world who haven't received even a single dose of vaccine, and they are starving for the vaccination to combat the COVID-19. So in this context, the people are confused of type of vaccines they have to get in order to defeat the disease. So as government medical associations, we have taken enough evidences, we have taken initiatives with the Ministry of Health to vaccinate all the population of the country as early as possible. So we request the people, the first available vaccine is the best vaccine. So we have received so far Pfizer vaccine, then Moderna vaccine, AstraZeneca, Covishield, then the Sinopharm vaccine, also the small amount of Sputnik vaccine. So out of these vaccines, whatever the vaccine are protective and it is reasonable efficacy to combat the COVID-19. So that whatever the available vaccine, the first available vaccine is the best vaccine for the people. So that people should concentrate, vaccinate themselves early as possible. So thereby they can protect themselves and protect the community, thereby protect the country. So when we reach about 70% of the immunity by vaccinating the people, so that we are relatively safe compared to the other world. So at the moment, though we have the threat to face the country in regard to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we are still at the safe level to vaccinate the population as early as possible.
Now, police media spokesman Senior DIG Ajit Rohana says that police have taken 189 persons into custody during the last 24 hours for violating quarantine regulations. Now, accordingly, a total of 51,531 persons have been arrested thus far for such violations.
We have arrested 189 suspects in connection with the offences of face mask, social distancing and quarantine rules and regulations. Total number of 51,571 suspects have been arrested in connection with the same offences since the 30th of October 2020 to date. In addition to that, the provincial quarantine restriction order remains as it is. Therefore, no general public is allowed to cross provincial borders. Yesterday, 251 persons have been admonished and they have been sent back to their their original locations along with 100 vehicles as they were trying to cross the provincial border. In addition to that, we are heading with a long weekend. Therefore, we are going to deploy additional police officers in order to implement quarantine rules and regulations. Approximately 10,000 police officers would be deployed in the weekend to monitor the quarantine law and order situation, especially the misconduct of the general public. The persons who do not obey with quarantine rules and regulations would be arrested by Sri Lanka police. Therefore, everyone is kindly requested to adhere with quarantine rules and regulations and wear a face mask in public places, and when you use public transportation all the times, adhere with quarantine rules and regulations.
Meanwhile, moving to China, where China rejected a World Health Organization plan for a second phase of an investigation into the origin of the coronavirus, which includes the hypothesis it could have escaped from a Chinese laboratory.
China has rejected the World Health Organization's plan for a second phase of an investigation into the origin of the coronavirus. The plan includes the hypothesis that the virus could have escaped from a Chinese laboratory, and the proposal includes doing audits of labs and markets in the central Chinese city of Wuhan. On Thursday, Vice Minister of the National Health Commission, Zhang Yisheng, told reporters he was taken aback when he read the details.
To be honest, when I first saw the WHO's second phase of an investigation into the origin of the coronavirus, I was very surprised, because in this plan, the hypothesis of China violation of laboratory procedures causing virus leakage is one of the research priorities. In this aspect, I feel the plan disregards common sense and defies science.
The origin of the virus remains contested among experts. The first known cases emerged in Wuhan in December 2019. The virus was believed to have jumped to humans from animals being sold for food at a city market. A joint report in March by a WHO-led team that spent 4 weeks in and around Wuhan with Chinese researchers backed up that thesis. It said the laboratory leak theory was extremely unlikely. But other countries, including the US and some scientists, have not been satisfied with that conclusion. In May, President Joe Biden said US intelligence agencies were pursuing rival theories, potentially including the possibility of a laboratory accident in China. The lab in question is the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which have been conducting research on bats that carry coronavirus. One key part of the lab leak theory has centered on its decision to take offline its gene sequence and sample database in 2019. Zhang, along with other officials and Chinese experts at the news conference, urged the WHO to expand origin tracing efforts beyond China to other countries. He accused the WHO of politicizing the study.
Meanwhile, according to a study published yesterday, 2 doses of the Pfizer or AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine are nearly as effective against the highly transmissible Delta coronavirus variant as they are against the previously dominant Alpha variant.
A new study out Wednesday found that 2 doses of Pfizer and AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccines offer strong protection against the Delta variant, almost as much as the previously dominant Alpha strain. Based on real-world data, the New England Journal of Medicine study confirms Public Health England's earlier findings about the efficacy of Pfizer and AstraZeneca's vaccines. Wednesday's study found that 2 doses of Pfizer's shot were about 88% effective at preventing symptomatic disease from the Delta variant, compared to 93.7% against the Alpha variant. Meanwhile, 2 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine were 67% effective against Delta and 74.5% effective against Alpha. Data from Israel, which has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, had estimated Pfizer's effectiveness against symptomatic disease to be even lower, but suggests protection against severe disease remains high. Officials say vaccines are highly effective against Delta, now the dominant variant worldwide, but the study reiterates that just 1 dose of the vaccines is not enough for high protection. Public Health England had previously said that a first dose of either vaccine was around 33% effective against symptomatic disease from the Delta variant. Wednesday's study found that 1 dose of Pfizer's shot was 36% effective, while 1 dose of AstraZeneca was around 30% effective.
Coming back to more local stories, the wife of Rishad Badiuddin is currently being questioned over the death of the underage girl child who was a domestic aide at parliamentarian's house. The inquiry is being conducted at his residence in Borella. The inquiry has been carried out by a special team from the Borella police. A special team of officers has been appointed by the Attorney General today to provide necessary instructions over the relevant investigations. The relevant decision was reached by the Attorney General following a meeting held at the Attorney General's department with a group of officers including Senior DIG in charge of Western Province, Deshabandhu Tennakon. The police officers briefed the progress achieved in the investigations conducted related to the incident to Attorney General Sanjay Rajaratnam. Accordingly, the Attorney General has appointed a legal counsel headed by Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Piris to facilitate relevant legal provisions and provide necessary instructions. The police have indicated that the investigations related to the death of the girl child will be proceeded ahead based on the evidence recorded from the two domestic workers who had previously worked at the parliamentarian's house. A letter was handed over to the National Child Protection Authority today requesting to expedite the investigations related to the death of the girl child. The letter was handed over by Sinhala Rabe Organisation and Sinhala National Organisation. They also engaged in a peaceful protest in front of the National Child Protection Authority. Meanwhile, Defence Secretary Retired General Kamal Gunaratne says certain entities are publicising false information over the Kothalavala Defence University. Meanwhile, Vice Chancellor of General Sir John Kothalavala Defence University, Major General Milinda Peris, said that the university was functioned as a standardised institution and will continue to maintain the standards at present as well as in future. He made these remarks while addressing a media briefing held today.
So that is why the main reason why we need to have an act, the new act to govern the KDU. This act is only for KDU. Name of the act is General Sir John Kothalavala National Defence University Act. With this act, you cannot govern any other body, any other institution. So it is only the Board of Governance have been authorized to govern the KDU, not anywhere else. And a lot of people talk about the act. Many people, they say the Board of Governance goes even above the University Grants Commission. There is no provision in this act to go beyond our own institution. The UGC chairman himself is a member of the Board of Governance. And some they talk that we go beyond the other professional bodies like Sri Lanka Medical Council, Sri Lanka Law Council, Engineering Council. We have no authority. If you really read this act, there is no provision whatsoever in this act. And most of these provisions, those who are there, either that is in the 1978 Universities Act, or Bauddha and Pali Universities Act, or Bhiksu Shravaka University Act, or Ocean University Act, or University of Technology Act. So these are all being taken from those acts. Of course, some being taken from the original 1981 KDU Act to establish other institutions also.
Now, in more stories, Minister Dr. Keheli Rambukwella says that a tax revenue worth 251 million rupees has been earned from the broadcasting of foreign teledramas and films through local media. Now, the minister made these remarks at the meeting of the Ministerial Advisory Committee of the Ministry of Mass Media at the Parliament recently. The tax revenue earned from the broadcasting of foreign teledrama and films to local media, which had been temporarily halted due to the COVID-19 pandemic, resumed from last April. Pointing out that more attention will be directed to increase the tax revenue earned through such means, the minister said that such earnings will be utilized to safeguard the national culture, the teledrama industry, while also empowering artists involved in the industry, while indicating that a sum of 22 million rupees was spent on a monthly basis to telecast educational programs continuously for a period of 16 hours a day for the benefit of the children. Though only 4 million rupees have been allocated in this regard, the minister emphasized that the national television has fulfilled its responsibility for the betterment of the children. Minister Rambukwalla further said that his ministry has been vested with the challenge to return economically affected state institutions before the COVID-19 pandemic to normalcy, indicating the expectation to uplift the national television by introducing a variety of new programs. The minister added that measures will be taken to allow the institution to reach the break-even in revenue by the end of this year. The attention of the Ministry of Mass Media will be directed to formalize the process to grant permits for television channels and the process to register all functioning websites and amend the Press Council Act as the Media Council Act covering all media in the country. The minister emphasized that his ministry will fulfill its responsibility for the benefit of the 22 million population. Minister Mahinda Amaravira, parliamentarians Chandima Virakodi, Geeta Kumarasinghe, G. Karunakaran, S. Gajendran, Shanakyan Rams, Rasamanikam, Uddika Premaratna and Diana Gamage were present at this meeting. Also, Secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media Jagat P. Vijay Veera, Director General of Government Information Mohan Samarnayaka, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation Reginald Kure, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation Hudson Samarsinghe and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Press Council Mahinda Patirana were present at this occasion.
Many farmers in the country have shown interest towards a toxic-free cultivation. Accordingly, they are gradually engaging in the production and use of organic fertilizer. Practical trainings and workshops on the preparation of high-quality organic fertilizer are underway across the country at present. Over 3,000 farmers in 22 Madhuruthanna farm organizations belonging to Mahaweli B zone are engaging in paddy cultivation. With the collaboration of the farm organizations, every farmer is engaged in the production of organic fertilizer required for their relevant cultivations. State Minister Siripala Gamlath engaged in an observational tour to monitor the fertilizer production processes in the respective areas. Farmers in Batticaloa district are also interested in using organic fertilizer for the cultivation of supplementary crops and vegetables. Farmers in Mankadu area belonging to Eruvilpattu Divisional Secretariat Division can be seen using organic fertilizer for their supplementary crop cultivation. A training workshop was organized by Kapitipola Agrarian Service Centre yesterday on the preparation of organic fertilizer. The farmers were briefed on the production of high-quality organic fertilizer using degradable materials which can be obtained from surrounding areas.
Now, the final procession of the Asala Perahara festival of the historic Runu Kataragama Devalaya will be held tomorrow night. The Perahara will be live telecast on the national television from 10:30 p.m. onwards. The 12th procession of the festival paraded the streets last night. This year's Asala festival was held without the participation of devotees due to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. After parading the streets, the final procession will reach the Valyamma Devalaya to fulfill the necessary rituals and customs, and the procession will come to an end following its return to the Mahadevalaya.
The wife of Rishad Badiuddin is currently being questioned over the death of the underage girl child who was a domestic aid at the parliamentarian's house. The inquiry is being conducted at his residence in Borella. The inquiry has been carried out by a special team from the Borella police. A special team of officers has been appointed by the Attorney General today to provide necessary instructions over the relevant investigations. The relevant decision was reached by the Attorney General following a meeting held at the Attorney General's Department with a group of officers, including Senior DIG in charge of Western Province, Beshabandhu Tennakoon. The police officers briefed the progress achieved in the investigations conducted related to the incident to Attorney General Sanjay Rajaratnam. Accordingly, the Attorney General has appointed a legal counsel headed by Deputy Solicitor General Dileep Peris to facilitate relevant legal provisions and provide necessary instructions. The police have indicated that the investigations related to the death of the girl child will be proceeded ahead based on the evidence recorded from the two domestic workers who had previously worked at the parliamentarian's house.
Well, that's a wrap of tonight's primetime news bulletin here at Rupa and Channel I. And until we meet again next time, do take care, stay safe, and good night.
Good night.